up. Oh, I'm so excited. Today's gonna be a good day. We'll get up and make some breakfast, and then I don't know what I'm gonna do today. I need to get going on that business plan. Okay, so now Ruth is telling her mother-in-law Naomi, wherever you go, I'ma go. Where you die, that's where I'm gonna die. So she's loyal. She's really loyal. So now Naomi's like, okay, you know what? Fine. Okay. So now Naomi goes back. Naomi and Ruth goes back to Judah. Huh? No. It says, so the two of them went on until they came to Bethlehem. Oh, is Bethlehem in... Okay, Bethlehem is in Judah. Don't tell nobody that happened. Okay. Okay. And they said, oh, wow, is that Naomi? But she said, don't call me Naomi, call me Mara, which means bitter, because she feels that the Lord has done her wrong. Because she lost her sons and her husband. And Naomi means pleasant. She says, why call me Naomi when the Lord has testified against me and the Almighty has brought calamity upon me? So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, with her, who returned from the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. Mind you, I think, from what I remember, a Moabite was not really great, the most liked person in Bethlehem, because they believed in other gods, they worshiped other gods, and it just wasn't the way of the land. So of course there was beef. So when they came back, we'll get there. So Ruth meets Boaz. Now Naomi had a relative of her husband's, a worthy man of the clan of Elimelech, who was okay. And Ruth was a Moabite. And Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, let me go to the field and glean among the ears of grain after him in whose sight I shall find favor. So she was like, I'm finna go find my husband. Well, maybe not husband. I'm pretty sure it was something along those lines. So she went out into the field to find favor, so he could find favor with her. So she's actively putting herself out in the field. And this is why it's so important to read the Bible, because a lot of the times I hear that she was just working when he came and found her. No, she went out with the intention to be found by that man. She went out with the intention. She wasn't just... That's why and a lot of people use Ruth as an example of just... when you're out and you're doing when you're not worried about marriage will find you. Ruth is not the perfect example, y'all, for that, because she went to go find her man. She went to find him, or maybe not find her man, but she went to go find favor in his sight. Who was the worthy man? She wanted to be found by the worthy man. And Ruth said to her, go, my daughter. So she set out and went and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And she happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz. Oh, she happened to. Okay, I see why they say that now. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem. And he said to the reapers, the Lord be with you. And they answered, the Lord bless you. Then Boaz said to his young man who was in charge of the reapers, who is this young woman with this? Whose young woman is this? And the servant who was in charge of the reapers said, she is a young Moabite woman who came back with Naomi from the country of Moab. She said, "Please let me glean and gather among the sheaves after the reapers." So she came, and she has continued from early morning until now, except for a short rest. Then Boaz said to Ruth, "Now listen, my daughter. Do not go to glean in another field or leave this one, but keep close to my young women. Let your eyes be on the field that they are reaping and go after them. Have I not charged the young men not to touch you? And when you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink what the young men have drawn." Then she fell on her face, bowed to the ground. So he accepted her. He accepted her. And said to him, "Why have I found favor in your eyes that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner?" But Boaz answered her, "All that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been fully told to me, and how you left your father and mother in your native land and came to a people you did not know you did not know before. The Lord repay you for what you have done, and a full reward be given by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wing you have come to take refuge." Then she said, "I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord, for you have comforted me and spoken kindly to your servant, though I am not one of your servants." And at mealtime, Boaz said to her, "Come here and eat some of the bread and dip your morsel in the wine." So she sat beside the reapers and he passed to her roasted grain, and she ate until she was satisfied, and she had some left over. When she rose to glean, Boaz instructed his young men, saying, "Let her glean even among the sheaves, and do not reproach her. And also pull some of the bundles for her, and leave it for her to glean. Do not rebuke her." So she gleaned in the field until evening. Then she beat out what she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. She took it up and went into the city. Her and her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned. She also brought out and gave her what food she had left over after being satisfied. Just satisfied. And her mother-in-law said to her, Where did you glean today? And where have you worked? Blessed be the man that noticed you." So let me see. Says, now Naomi had a relative of her husband's, a worthy man of the clan, whose name was Boaz. Oh, so I do take that back. She went out with the intention to find Boaz. So why does it say she happened to be on his land? It says she happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz. She happened to. I'm gonna have to get into that word, because how did she happen to do something that she intentionally did? Ba 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 da 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 da. Why is it not showing up? Okay, so now it's not showing up, but I really want to understand that. Anywho, she said, "Where did you go that the man noticed you and gave you this glean?" So she told her mother-in-law, with whom she had worked, and said, the man's name with whom I work today is Boaz." And Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, May he be blessed by the Lord, whose kindness has not forsaken the living or the dead. And Naomi also said it to her, the man is a close relative of ours, one of our redeemers. And Ruth the Moabite said, besides, he said to me, you shall keep close to my young men until they have finished all my harvest. And Naomi said to Ruth and her daughter-in-law, it is good, my daughter, that you go out with this young man, that you go out with his young women, lest in another field you be assaulted. So she's saying she's trying to look out for her because, Boaz is going to protect her. So she needs to stay close to his women, or else she's going to be assaulted for being a Moabite. So she kept close to the young women of Boaz, gleaning into the end of the barley and wheat harvest, and she lived with her mother-in-law. I kind of want to finish these chapters, or this book, because it's only 4, but I gotta stay true to what I know. So Ruth and Boaz at the threshing floor, chapter 3. This is our last chapter. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, my daughter, should I not seek rest for you, that it may be well with you? Is it not Boaz a relative with those young women you were? Those young women you were. Okay. See, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. Wash therefore and anoint yourself, and put on a cloak and go down to the threshing floor, but do not make yourself known to the man until he finish eating and drinking. But when he lies down, observe the place where he lies, then go and uncover his feet and lie down, and he will tell you what to do. So now the mother-in-law is trying to not set her up, but like set her up to be with this man. And she replied, all that you say I will do. So she went down to the threshing floor, and did just as her mother-in-law had commanded her. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. Then she came softly and uncovered his feet and lay down. At midnight the man was startled and turned over. And behold, a young woman was laying at his feet. He said, who are you? She answered, I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer. And he said, may you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have made this last kindness greater than the first, in that you have not gone after young men, whether poor nor rich. And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you ask. Okay, so why did she find favor? He said, you have made this last kindness greater than the first, in that you have not gone after young men. I don't understand this part. I don't understand. Okay. Now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you ask. For all my fellow townsmen know that you are a worthy woman. And now it is true that I am a redeemer. Yet there is a redeemer nearer than I. Remain tonight in the morning. If he will redeem you, good, let him do it. But if he is not willing to redeem you, then as the Lord lives, I will redeem you. Lie down into the morning. I'm pretty sure redeem means like when your husband dies, you have to marry again, and the person who marries you will be your redeemer. I think that's what it's saying. So she lay at his feet until evening, but arose before one could recognize another. And he said, let it not be known that the woman came to the threshing floor. And he said, bring the garment you are wearing and hold it out. So she held it out and measured out, and he measured out 6 measures of barley and put it on her. Then he went into the city, and when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, how did you fare, my daughter? Then she told her all that the man had done for her, saying, the 6 measures of barley he gave to me, for he said to me, you must not go back empty-handed to your mother-in-law. She replied, wait, my daughter, until you learn how the matter turns out, for the man will not rest, but will settle the matter today. All right. That is the Lord's reading for today. I think it's really interesting that last night, just not even 12 hours ago, a couple hours ago, she was telling us about the story of Ruth and how she actively went out to go find favor and be presented to Boaz. And now, oh, excuse me. And today, that's the first time. That's our first time reading. I did not know that we would be reading that. I really didn't. I also think it's interesting how my pastor compared me to Ruth, but it was in relation to my friend at the time. So I read Ruth, and it was the first chapter that I read, like I said. The Lord He doesn't do things coincidentally. He has a purpose for all things. So, yeah, that is the Lord's reading for today. I'm about to make myself some breakfast, finish my hair, probably get out the house.